Welcome to the tutorial on ASP.NET Core MVC 3.1. So in this tutorial, we'll see how to create a ASP.NET MVC web application from scratch. So first, we'll open Visual Studio 2019. Click on Create New Project. And so we can filter out the C# templates here, and this is the template that we are going to use. If you don't see this, you can also search as ASP.NET Core here, ASP.NET Core, and then the list will be filtered and you can select the template from there. So let's select this one and then click on next and give it a name called web app, and this is the location, this will be the solution name, and then click on create. So when you click on create, we'll have many options in it. So one of the options is empty. This is the template for API. This is for the web application using the Razor pages, and this is the ASP.NET MVC, which already has a default template applied. So, and this one for Angular, React, and Redux. So we have all these templates. So for this tutorial, we'll start from scratch. So we'll select empty and make sure that the framework is .NET Core 3.1 and the framework is .NET Core. So select this one and make sure the configure for HTTPS is selected, and then click on create. The application will be created. Okay, so once the application is created, you have this startup page. Close it down, and if you navigate to the solution explorer, you can see only three files are created. One is a startup, the other one is a program file, and the other one is app settings. And this is the properties and the dependencies. So when you double click on the application name, you can see it says target framework is .NET Core App 3.1 and nothing else. Previously we used to have the package references in the CS proj file, but with .NET Core 3.1 all those references are removed. So it's okay, let's close it. And if you see the dependencies, it says this is the framework and these are the references that are required for this application, and you can see there are no NuGet packages right now. And yeah, if you see the app settings, this is our new web config file. So all the configurations happen over here, and if you see the program files, you see there is a main file, sorry, there is a main method. So if you look closely, this sounds similar to the ASP.NET console application. So typically this web application is a console application. So when you run the application, the main method is called, and main method is internally calling a create web host builder method, and this one calls a create default builder. And this, if you hover over here, you can see it creates a Kestrel server. You see uses Kestrel as the web server and configures. So what it ideally does is it creates a pipeline with the middleware and creates a Kestrel server to run the application, and all the configuration settings are configured in the startup file. If you click on go to definition, it opens the startup class. So in the startup class, you have two methods, configure services and the configure. Configure services is where we configure the framework services and our own custom services, like the registering the dependency injection containers. So, and if you see the configure method, it says, obviously you can see here, it helps to configure the HTTP request pipeline. So for a web, let's run it without any other explanation and see what it returns, and then we can go over from there. So when you run it, you will get a hello world. Yeah. So if you're wondering from where it comes, it is coming from here. So what happens is, this is the method that is responsible for handling the HTTP request pipeline. So if you see, it says the endpoint will be configured here, and this line says just return a text string hello world. So for an MVC application, as we know, we have a models, views, and controllers. So we'll configure that part now. So to use controllers with views in .NET Core 3.1, we have to configure services.add controllers with views. Previously, we used to configure here as add MVC, but going forward with .NET Framework 3.1, add MVC is replaced with add controllers with views. So for this tutorial, I think this should be sufficient. And here you can see if it is in development environment, it will return use developer exception page. So ideally, if you check the properties, you have a build package debug. If you see here, this is the environment variable. So when it is staging, we can set it as staging, or if it is production, we can set it as production. So based on the environment, it returns the exception pages. So the classic yellow page errors won't occur with this settings, like we would say. So for .NET Core MVC web application, um, okay, we can leave this as it is. It uses routing. We need to configure the endpoint, and also we need to add one more thing. We need to say app dot use static files. So this is required because our web application will use images, the JavaScript files, and the CSS style sheets. So all those files needs to be rendered to the browser. So in order to do that, we need this to be set up in the pipeline. And we also use the HTTP as redirection. So now, since these have been the common setup that is required. So here, if you see, we need this endpoint that is configured here. So what we have to do here is basically we need to set up the mapping path. So what we'll do is let's see. I'll see endpoints dot map controller route endpoints. Oh, I'm sorry. So the pattern will be controller, action, and parameter. So let's say it's a simple one actually. So controller slash action slash ig. So since this is optional, you can add a question mark here, so like that. But uh, this is the actual pattern for the map route, map controller route. But uh, we also, once you are done with this, you just have to set the default controller here like this. Let's say home. So inside home, the default action would be index. Okay, now the HTTP pipeline is set up, and this will be the default route. So we don't have any controllers or actions, so let's go and create a new controller folder. we add the views folder as well. So let's add the controller. Right click, add a controller. We add okay, so it defaults to home. Let's add it. So if you see here, this is the controller itself, and it the base class for the the controllers will be a controller class, and we have a default action already added. So now let's go ahead and add a view. Add view. Oops, sorry. So we need to add this under home folder. Right click on home, add new item. You see, this is the view. Let's add the one more folder called shared. This is where we will add the new item. Let's say we will be adding the layout. If you check layout, you see there is a layout, and it by default says underscore layout. So we can manually add it over here. So as you can see, everything is set up for us, and we also have the view start file. We also need to add the view start. Raise the view start. It says underscore view start. So this is where we write all the using statements, import statements. Yeah. So everything is ready. Let's say h1 home. Oops. So home. So we have the header and the body, and here's the body that will be rendered. I think it should be working. Let's try it. Yeah, as you can see. So the request, if you see, the request went from home controller to the index method, and it returned the index layout. So the request ideally came to the home controller to the index method. The index method will return a view. If we don't specify the view name, it returns any view that is in this in the actions name under the home folder, or it looks for the index file, and if you see, the index file is here, and it returns. So let's see one more thing called LibMan. It is a new package manager from Microsoft. Right click, add, and then client side library. So there are a lot of providers. We will choose unpackage and just start typing over here. I'll use Bulma, and you can see it comes up, and I select here. If you click on include all the files will be selected. The best thing about LibMan is that you can actually go ahead and select only the files that you require. So we'll select only this file, and we click on install. Once you do that, as you can see, sorry, here. Okay, I missed one part. Let's add a new folder called www. Okay, let's remove this. set library, package, Bulma. So Bulma is a CSS framework. Once you do that, you can see there is a new folder called lib. Under that, all the libraries that I installed will be shown. In our case, it is only Bulma. So let's add this to our layout page. Once the Bulma is added, let's add some hero content here. Let's add a section. Under section, for the section, let's give it a class name of hero is primary. Yeah, and inside this, let's give it a class div of class hero body. Yeah. So inside this, let's give a container. Let's give a title here. It's button core 3.1. Let's give it a subtitle as well. Web, web application. Okay, now this looks good, probably. Let's run it. Yeah. So basically, I added the Bulma framework and I just gave something on the home page. Sorry, on the shared file, layout file, so that it reflects throughout all the pages. So that is about it. This is a simple example of our application of a web application using .NET Core 3.1. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please do share your comments so that I can improve the content. Thank you.